lot to get through this week on the Fair Dinker department. First up, is Damien Cook's rep career over? Does Nathan Cleary need to win this Origin series? I've got lots to say on that one. Are the Knights in a market for a number 6? Knights or Knights? Knights?
Knights.
Knights, yeah, we'll go with Knights. Is Jarrod Croker's decision disrespectful? And finally, should the NRL stop taking games to New Zealand? We only just started taking games back there, but we're taking them back. Outrage, there's plenty of it. We're going to decide if it's real or a little bit ridiculous. I'm Chris Danks. Across from me, Liam O'Loughlin. Tough question to start it off. What was your game of the round? Did you watch any footy?
I watched the majority of the games. Don't know, Raiders South is the one game I missed, and it looked like it was a pretty decent game, plenty of points. Para Cowboys Friday night was pretty scrappy. Cowboys did reasonably well, I thought, missing 4 or 5 players through Origin. Tamalolo and Jeremiah Nanai still out through injury and suspension, so they did reasonably well to hang with Para. But yeah, game of the round's pretty tough when there's blokes missing through Origin.
I'm so 100% in Origin mode right now. Like I watched Bronx Warriors. I watched the second half, so I watched the good part of it for that diabolical finish. But apart from that, it's just been checking every morning to make sure Turbo's still fine. Wanting to know more about Payne Haas's ankles/feet than anyone should healthily want to know. Just texting him non-stop, just send me a foot pic. Is it fine? Are you all right? But yeah, a few more days left of Origin and a bit of an Origin-themed episode here. So let's get into it. Damien Cook's rep career. Is it over? Who knows? Brad Fittler admitted him from the New South Wales team. He's been playing bloody well. Obviously, at the end of last year, didn't go on the World Cup. Has credited that for a lot of his early season form this year. Coruscant out 9. Hines on the bench as a utility. That's still how we think it's going to line up.
Yeah, I think so at this stage.
He's been a fixture of the Blues since 2018. 3 successful series. And then, of course, Blake Brayley just got included in the squad. Reece Robson's thereabouts. Off the bat, is Damien Cook's rep career over?
I think it is.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think so.
Are you being ageist because he's about to turn 32?
No, I don't think it's got anything to do with age. He's contracted to South until the end of 25. He's still playing really good footy. He was somewhat of a late bloomer. Early in his career, he was coming off the bench, wasn't getting much of a run at a couple of different clubs. But I think it was once Anthony Seibold took over, he took the reins at number 9 for South, and ever since he's been at the very top of dummy halves in the competition. But I just think, you look at Australia, they're obviously leaning towards Harry Grant and obviously Ben Hunt at the moment. You've got some young guys that you just mentioned coming through, Brails from Cronulla and Reece Robson. They're 2 young guys that have been performing really well over the last 18 months. And Api Coruscant's a 3-time premiership winner now, if you count that time at South Sydney. 2 grand finals with Penrith. Being the Tigers' best player this year by a country mile. Deserves his spot. But I was surprised to see Cook miss out. And I think the fact that he did probably spells the end for him in the rep arena.
It's a tough one. He's about to turn 32. Appy's no young man himself. He's 30. Then you go all the way down to 25 for Reece Robson, 24 for Blake Brayley. I just thought, just going off the top, that Cook being an 80-minute dummy half would mean so much. Because you need so much from your bench during Origin. You don't really want to waste that on... I don't know. I know Queensland do it, but... I don't know. I just don't like Hines at any point coming in and being a dummy half.
Yeah, and New South Wales clearly don't like it too much either, because I know Jerome Luai's been training at 9. Cam Murray was even training there last week when down at Blues training and spoke to him. So they're trialling a few different things. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work. I would assume if Hines comes on, he'd probably slot into the halves, and Luai would probably be more chance of playing hooker, or he goes to the bench depending on how things are going. But yeah, look, with Cook, he has played every minute of every game for South this year. He's been really, really good. He's such a fit bloke, even if he is on the wrong side of 30, so to speak. Even without a bye, he's still managed to play every single game, and he's effective in minute 80 as he is in minute 1 with the ball in hand and in defence as well. So I was very surprised to see him miss out. Personally, I would have gone with both him and Coruscant.
Okay.
Because Coruscant hasn't played 80 a hell of a lot this year. Yeah. I just think Cook off the bench as well. He's so dynamic, as we know, with his speed around the ruck. So I was surprised to see him miss out. But I do think his time in the rep arena is probably over, both for Australia and for New South Wales.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a bit ridiculous that it's because he still has so much to give for New South Wales, I think, but I suspect you're right. This may be it.
Yeah, I wouldn't read too much into the...
But then, is Brayley or Robson going to be our guy?
I think Robson, maybe not next year. I think Coruscant's still playing some really good footy, and I think Freddie's shown that he really likes the way Appy plays.
Yeah.
Whether Freddie's still the coach next year is up in the air, depending on how this series goes. I think Reece Robson's probably the long-term guy I reckon the Blues will be looking at. He's just such a tough player, can play 80 minutes as well. So I think he's a guy that I'll look at. I think Brayley's probably in the squad, because Cronulla had a bye, and North Queensland and South Sydney both played. I would have assumed Robson probably would have had that 18th, 19th man gig hanging around Blues camp if the Cowboys weren't playing. But it's a great experience for Blake. He's been playing really well for Cronulla for the last couple of years. So there's certainly some options there long term, which is why I think Cook's probably going to be on the outer moving forward.
What is it about Freddie and game ones where he's like, you know what, let's try something a bit different?
Let's just throw shit at the wall and see what stinks, really.
Everyone said it's a 3-game series. It's actually really important. We need to win this one, mate.
Especially when Game 2 is at Suncorp, which everyone's going to keep speaking about. If the Blues if they do lose Game 1,
tough.
I'm not going to say series over because it can be done, but it's going to make it really tough. They're going to be up against it. So it's going to be interesting come Wednesday night, and some of the selections that Freddie's made. It's either going to be really justified and everyone's going to be thinking, geez, what a smart bloke he is, or they're going to be hanging shit on him as people usually do.
We'll delete the podcast if it goes really well. On to Nathan Cleary. There are two things that we love doing in New South Wales. Historically, we love beating each other in City Origin, being injured for actual Origin, great idea, but also hating on number 7s. We love it. We're mad for it. I can't remember the last guy who probably got a better run than Nathan Cleary in terms of there being support most of the time. But there's been a little bit of chat of late that this is a series that he needs to win, which seems silly to me. Also, Nathan Cleary is 25.
He's 25. Let's look at the numbers so far in his Origin career. I think he's played 5 full series now.
Yep.
New South Wales have been favourites in, I think, all of them, if we're being fair to him, especially in 2020, as we know, it's well documented. That it was the worst Queensland side in 40 years, apparently. And the Blues managed to come up short. So
That's Bulldog Richie that said that?
That was Dennis the Bullfrog, yes. So he's won 3 of those series, 2018, 2019 and 2021. Yep. 2020 and 2022. They've come up short. Can't blame everything on Cleary, but he is the halfback. He's the best halfback in the competition as well. Let's be serious there. He's won 2 premierships. I think this notion that he has to win this Origin series to be considered an all-time grade or to hold on to his spot. This is make or break. You see a lot of it. You hear a lot of it. I think it's just ridiculous. Yeah. Bloke's 25. He's won 2 comps and 3 Origin series. Not too many players have done that during their careers. So I'm all on board the Nathan Cleary train for the next probably 8 or 10 years.
He's won 2 man of matches in Origin as well. 20 in last year, both game 2s.
Yeah.
My biggest thing with this whole chatter, I think we could both agree it's ridiculous. Off the start, we don't understand
100%.
But I don't understand who would be your replacement. I know Nico Hines is in the side, but it also, it's his first Origin series as a utility. He's even older than Cleary. The whopping old age of 26. There is no one even on the horizon who could possibly come close to Nathan Cleary. No,
Mitchell Moses is, a really classy halfback. He's had 1 taste of Origin. The Blues lost that game, but they'd already locked up the series by then. So Moses would probably, I would say, be the next option behind probably Hines and Cleary. Adam Reynolds is probably a little bit old now, even if he's playing some really good footy for Brisbane. Ancient. But yeah, look, Cleary's the best halfback in the comp, and he's probably close to the best player in the comp as well. And he's still so young. He's got so much footy ahead of him, and halves and spine players, especially, they don't hit their peak or their prime until their late 20s, pushing 30 anyway. So his best football is still to come. And as long as Penrith are playing well and he's winning games for them, I think his spot in the Blues side is pretty safe.
I'm interested to see what would happen with a different 5'8". I think him and Luai are a great combination.
They complement each other really well.
They really, and
do.
I know a lot of people don't love Luai at Origin level. I do. I think it's pretty great.
Yeah. He was really good in his first series as well, Luai. So I'm happy with him in the 6 jumper. I probably personally would have went with Nico, but flip a coin really. Like Luai's come into form at the right time of year too, so I like their combination a lot.
Yep. In less exciting news, the Knights 5'8" dilemma. It is a genuine dilemma from the Nelly and Kelly line.
I've got no idea what you're talking about.
Nelly and Kelly, Dilemma. Great song.
Oh.
Dilemma.
Oh, you've got, Kelly Rowland. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought this was like some old TV show from the 90s or something you were referencing.
An old TV show from the 90s. Yeah, black and white days. So Ponga moved to fullback in their win over Manly. Or was it 28-18? I thought they were pretty good. You had Miller at 14.
Didn't go on.
But do you know why?
Adam O'Brien said after the game he needs to see more... What's the word he used? He used some weird word to describe evidence. He said he needs to see evidence of him defending in the front line before he plays him, which I thought was a strange way to word it. But anyway, I don't pick him on the bench if you don't think he's going to be able to go on and do a job.
I think I think he'd be a good 14. Did it a few times for Cronulla and it was great. I think Gamble is the answer for them at 6 for now.
Right now, but he's not a long-term guy, I don't think.
So they've got a problem. They need to keep Ponga at fullback. They've got options, kind of. You got Gamble, signed to 24, Mann this year, Clune this year, Sasagi, 24. Do any of them incite happiness in you?
I mean, I'm not a Knights fan, so I don't really care what they do. But they're not the most exciting options, are they, long term? Young Simi Sasangi is a good player. He's had a couple of injury concerns, but I think he's one they're probably looking at possibly long term. But yeah, Kurt Mann, Tyson Gamble, Adam Clune, not the most exciting options long term at 5'8". Ponga has to play fullback. Yep. They've trialled this experiment twice now and it hasn't worked. I know he still got belted a few times yesterday.
When that tackle went to the knee, I thought that was it for him.
He got belted, so I don't know how, he's going to make less tackles, but he's still going to get hit, especially playing off the back of sweeps. He's still going to get cleaned up by wingers and centres every now and again. But I think the best looking Knights side is with Kalen in the number 1 jumper, but I think the Knights are probably going to have to look somewhere else in terms of 5'8". Whether they can develop Lockie Miller into a 6 remains to be seen, but it's not the worst option, I suppose. What do you think they should be going to the market or look within?
I don't know who's on the market.
Luke Brooks. Luke Brooks and Hastings back together at Newcastle.
Back together. I love each other.
But yeah, there isn't a hell of a lot out there in terms of 5'8s that are off contract.
You've got Ben Hampton who hasn't played in...
Played the other night at 6.
That was his first game for the year, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's not a hell of a lot out there. So I think they're going to either have to try and mould Miller into a 6 or develop someone coming through to partner with Hastings, which wouldn't be the worst thing for a young guy. Hastings is a, ball dominant half where you can have someone that, maybe only plays one side of the field and Ponga plays the other as, I guess that second 5'8" role, which he kind of did on Sunday anyway. Yep. That left side were fantastic for Newcastle. Greg Marzu crossed for a hat-trick and Bradman Best had his best game for a while. So I think Ponga sticking to that left side and, having the 5'8" play the other side, I think works with Hastings. But who that man is long-term, I'm not sure. Tyson Campbell will do a job for a while, but I don't think he's him.
So the Knights, are they in the market for a number 6? Real or ridiculous?
Real. Should be. I think they should have a look who's around. The player market is very fluid.
And they're in with a chance. They're at 10th at the moment, I think.
Yeah, they're just outside.
The way that points are at the moment, they could be 3rd if they had a better...
Yeah, I think they've got a bye next week as well. So that was a big game for them yesterday against Manly, who were around the same spot as them. They obviously had a draw against each other earlier in the year, so that was a really important win for the Knights.
People say we don't talk about Canberra enough, and they're probably right.
What's there to talk about? Questacon.
Oh, so mean. I just heard that Questacon not nearly as good as it used to be.
I don't know, I haven't been since I was about 10, so...
Apparently it's far less interactive.
It's a shame.
But on non-Questacon conversations, Jarrod Croker played game 299 on the weekends, is now going to be rested against the Tigers this Friday night. So he could play his 300th game at GIO Stadium. Cooper Cronk, a few other people coming out saying you've got to have competition points, especially this year when everything's so close. But also, apparently, this has been scheduled for a very long time. Sticky didn't want to say anything because he wasn't sure if there was going to be any injuries and if his hand would be forced. What's your initial take on it?
I don't see
Is it being disrespectful to the Tigers?
No, I don't think so at all. Like, if it was, say, Jack Wyden, who's their marquee man and he's a playmaker, if you're resting him in a must-win game against a team, I still wouldn't think it'd be disrespectful. I think it'd be a little bit silly.
Yeah.
But I mean, the only team the only people it's going to affect are the Raiders. And if all the playing group are happy with it, Jarrod's happy with it, Sticky's happy with it, I don't see any problem with it. The bloke's been through a lot of injuries. He's given so much to that club well over a decade now. Yep. He said in the post-game press conference he's spent more than half his life in a Canberra Raiders jumper. So I think he deserves the opportunity to play his 300th game in front of his home fans. There was a stage there, didn't look like he was going to get to that milestone.
Didn't play for the first 5 rounds, did he?
Yeah, just given his form as well and injuries over the past few years. They've got some young guys. He didn't look like he was going to get back into the team, but since he has, he's been playing really well this year, Jarrod. So I've got no problem with it at all. Do you think it's disrespectful to Tim Sheens and company?
No, I think going to Campbelltown Stadium on a Friday night, and I used to live in Campbelltown, I've been there many times on a Friday night, is disrespectful to your own body. It will be colder than Canberra for sure. It gets so cold there that you want to hold an icy cold beer just so you can warm up. It is like, the wind is out of control. It is a miserable time. Definitely do it at home. I think it's a great idea. Canberra are 7th, second on points. It's a big game for it. It's a game they need to win. You really can't afford to be dropping one, but I think they'll be fine.
I think they'll be fine. Like, I think the notion that it's disrespectful I know, and Cronk said that, that it's so important to win this game and stuff. Look, he's a centre at the end of the day. Yeah. If they lose to the Tigers, I don't think Jarrod Croker or whoever else fills in there was going to be the difference maker. Goal kicking possibly could be, but look, the only team it's going to affect is the Raiders. I don't see why anyone should be up in arms about it. And if they lose, Ricky will just say, oh, I got it wrong, or he won't say anything at all. So I've got no problem with it whatsoever, and Jarrod deserves to have this moment in front of his home fans and his family and friends down in Canberra.
Ricky won't say anything at all. Haven't been to many of his presses, have you? Always got something to say. And then finally, should we... Sorry. Plenty of New Zealand pitch invaders over the weekend. Mm-hmm. It was borderline farcical. It was in Napier on Saturday night. I think that was there 4 of them?
Yeah, I think there was more, to be honest. I think there was a few. There was like 3 or 4 that got onto the field, and then others tried to jump the barricade and didn't quite make it. They showed the clips of it, I think, on the Matty Johns show, and yeah, some of them probably didn't win any hurdle races at their athletics carnivals in primary school.
Thought of that, the least athletic thing you could ever do. Do you remember when they used to allow people on the grounds at Shark Park after games? I was like 18 and I mistimed my run. Also, I think I'd had several beers before and didn't make the fence, and I just crashed into it, and it was caught on Channel 9.
Oh, goodness.
So it was me from like a metre away going, ugh, and just basically ran into a fence. I hope that didn't happen to anyone. But Tohu Harris, he was pretty critical of the pitch invaders in the post-game presser. Gal came out and asked, should we consider taking games off New Zealand, because you can't have that as a professional sporting contest. No matter what sport it is, it's a laugh. Is that real or a bit of a hot take from Sir Paul Gallen?
Yeah, I think it's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
Look, it's not a good look, but it can happen anywhere. It's less likely to happen at Allianz Stadium or Combank Stadium, obviously, because there's probably higher security and all that kind of stuff. But
tell you where it would never happen, Homebush. That's too far to run to the ground.
Yeah, I know. Or the SCG when they used to play there. You're sitting 100 metres away from the ground. So, look, it can happen anywhere. It obviously is maybe not as prevalent at some big stadiums here in Sydney or up in Brisbane. But, look, I don't think we need to jump to that level. I know what Gal's saying. It is a bad look for the game. And I know the Warriors players and, Tohu Harris and Andrew Webster were probably a bit frustrated about it when the game was in the balance and as close as it was.
It had to be stopped a few times.
Very stop-start. So, look, it's annoying, it's disappointing, but I don't think we need to jump to conclusions just yet.
If you, let's say they've passed the kitty around, everyone's put in a little bit of money for you, you're going to have your fine paid, would you streak on a footy ground?
No, definitely wouldn't streak because I wouldn't want to get my kid off in front of that many people.
Yeah,
but
okay.
I don't think I'd invade the pitch. That's what we're calling them these days, pitch invaders.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't ever do
Is
that
there-
because
is
I love going to the footy too much.
Yeah, right.
The money, I mean, I'm not flush with it, but I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't be that worried about the fine. I'd be more worried about not being able to go to the footy.
Isn't the fine like 5K?
Yeah.
How much are you being paid?
But I'd be more worried about not being able to go to the footy again for the rest of my life or 5 years or whatever it was.
Because that's what it is now. It's a lot of them do lifetime bans.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. I couldn't give up going to the footy for the rest of my life. I love going to Colgar Oval or Shark Park sometimes.
What about, say, 15 grand?
No.
I don't understand how long you'd have to pass the hat around at a footy ground to get 15 grand together, but wouldn't do it.
No. Maybe at like a local game if there's no repercussions or something and I had a few beers. But no, I couldn't do it at an NRL game and face those kind of consequences because I love going too much.
Yeah, that's fair. I can understand that. All right. That will be it for us next week. We'll see you on the other side of Origin 1. See you then.